This is Mark Arnold, and welcome to Fun Ideas Podcast number 39. Before we begin, I was saddened this week to hear of the unexpected death of comic book historian Bill Schelly, who passed away from multiple myeloma on September 12th, 2019. I was fortunate to record a podcast with Bill on February 2nd of this year that was uploaded on March 27th as my 29th episode. Bill wrote many books, including books on Harvey Kurtzman, John Stanley, Otto Binder, Harry Langdon, and also about himself. On the podcast, he is here to discuss his latest book called Jim Warren, Empire of Monsters. And he was a great writer and a great guest, and he will be missed. And now, back to our show. Fun Ideas Productions presents the Fun Ideas Podcast.
We see the syphilitic shrinking obelisk, the white man's wilting dick. We see through dangling jowls of seedy game show trolls the smiling lie of the televised hive. The witches are watching with their thousand eyes. Witches are watching with their thousand eyes. We smell rotten teeth that speak beyond belief. A stick inside their skull would bring relief.
Hi, this is Mark Arnold, and welcome to Fun Ideas Podcast number 39. This episode is sponsored by the fine folks at Lee's Comics.
Hi, I'm George Takei. You know me as Helmsman Sulu on Star Trek. When I'm not busy going Warp Factor 8, I like to beam down to Lee's Comics in Mountain View and spend a lazy afternoon reading comics classics from Marvel to DC, from Dark Horse to Fantagraphics, and everything in between. So please, spend some time here at Lee's Comics and spend your hard-earned cash.
The Fun Ideas Podcast is made possible by listeners like you and from Lee's Comics of California, selling you what your mother threw out since 1982, online at leescomics.com. Alvin, the story of Ross Bagdasarian Sr., Liberty Records Format Films, and The Alvin Show is out. Order your hardback, paperback, and ebook copies today on Amazon and at bearmanormedia.com. I am currently still working on Friendly Ghosts, Little Devils, Giants, and Rich Kids, the art and creations of Warren Kremer, the Total Television Scrapbook, and headquartered A Timeline of the Monkey's Solo Years. Soon, my earlier books will be available for the first time in hardback. I will let you know when you can purchase hardcover versions of created and produced by Total Television Productions, If You're Cracked, You're Happy Volumes 1 and 2, and Frozen in Ice in an upcoming episode. The Kickstarter for the comedy of Jack Davis and the comedy of John Severant was wildly successful. We will be shipping the books and other goodies soon. Our guest today is an artist, animator, writer, publisher, and is not related to Matt Groening. Or is he? Here he is, Alan Groening, with his wife, Jen. On the phone I have Alan Groening. Woo! So, tell me, Alan, how was it? How did you create The Simpsons? Oops, wrong Groening. Okay. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
You know, I'm really sensitive about that.
All right, tell me how you, Alan Groening, got interested in cartooning and doing all the different creative projects you do.
Okay, let me take you back to the 4th grade. Okay.
Ooh, sound effects.
I know. We're joined today by my lovely wife. So in the 4th grade, I was adorning all of my homework, the back of my homework, with little tiny doodles of cartoon faces and stuff of that nature. And I slyly thought that the teacher wouldn't notice pharmacy and Xeroxing it. And I would actually erase my name because I thought, well, it has to have a real name on the top of it, or if it's a copy, she might know. Boy, was I stupid. Anyway, so needless to say, 4th grade, 5th grade, this goes on for a while. And I get into, it might have been junior high, actually, or high school. I just kind of surrounded myself with all the goofballs that didn't have friends. And
like now.
I go,
anyway.
Yeah, pretty much like right now.
Hey, I could say that too. Hey. Anyway.
So, all the artists, which we were not cool kids. We were not the cool kids. We all kind of hung out for lunch. We all would get together in the break room or whatever, or in the cafeteria or wherever we could, and we would have, the dollar store, the spiral bound, ruled pieces of paper. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we would put them in our peaches. And I remember do you remember peaches?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. I also remember going to a store, I think it was in San Diego. It was like 99 cents and up, or some denomination of that, and buying folders with Star Wars on them. And I wish I still had them because those were awesome. And so time goes by, and one of my friends decided he was going to be the first one in our group to do a comic book. His name was Mike, and he came out, and I remember his comic book was The Wharf Rats, and it was much like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I think it was right around the same time as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I looked at this, and it was a collection of pieces of paper that he had stapled together, and I said, dude, what's your print run? And you hear them honking at me? They weren't honking at me because the city wouldn't go through the green light. I said, what's your print run? And he goes, print what? I go, what? You're letting us read your comic book. I mean, don't we get one? And he goes, no, I stapled them together. This is the original book. This is my childhood.
He didn't make copies.
So
he just stapled the original, and that was it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I think in our sophomore year in high school, he actually had gone over to like Kinko's or a Photomat, and then he had actually made maybe like 10 or 15 copies. And then we all got one, and we would sit around. We would go out to Round Table. I remember going out to Round Table and sitting around the table, and we would all read his comic book. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, that's cool. That's what I want to do. I want a life of just drawing comic books. But I also forgot that you have to sell the comic books, which he never really did. He just gave them to us. Yeah. And so when years passed, and I think it was like I was probably 1991. Jump ahead. I was in high school, and I was taking watercolor, or I was taking...
No, you were in college in 91.
Yeah, I was in college in 91, 92. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I graduated in 88.
Yes, wife Jen corrects the the guest here.
Come on, that would make me a very big cradle robber.
And so, I started... I remember specifically, I was in a life drawing class, and I told a couple people, I said, I'm going to do a book on space aliens, and they're going to crash on Earth, and they're going to have this interaction with this farmer, and this lady goes, she gave me the book on Roswell. She gave me the book on Roswell. I still have it to this day. and I read it cover to cover. That's probably one of the only books that I've ever read that wasn't a graphic novel. And she goes, and she literally, she's one of the older ladies in the group. She wasn't like, you know, a teenager or anything. And she sits me down and she says, you know, Alan, when I was dating my husband in San Diego, we were up on Lover's Point looking out over at the 405, and I just remembered two F-14s were chasing a cigar-shaped object, and I'm like, they were chasing a what? And she goes, I have no reason to lie to you. You know, that's what it looked like. It was a cigar-shaped object, and it was doing barrel rolls, and it was going all over the place, and it was being pursued by two F-14s. Now, keep in mind, this one, she was a little girl. I met her when she was older.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated with that, with the account of people seeing weird shit in the sky. Not so much abductions, but just looking up at the sky and seeing some weird shit. And I myself have looked up. I was changing a tire one night, and I looked up into the night sky, and I did see some weird shit that I couldn't explain. But I'm not going to say it's a UFO. I just don't know what it was. And so, yeah, exactly. It was Skynet. No. But I became fascinated with the whole genre of other planets and aliens, but I also grew up around the time, I don't know if you've ever seen Pinky and the Brain.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Just had to test you on that one. I think I've actually met both of those guys that do the voices for those.
Yeah.
And so growing up around, you know, Pinky and the Brain, I wanted my aliens to be, you know, one is not so smart and one is just stupid. And so
right.
I did this really quick, and I wrote the first issue, and I drew it, and it was 9 pages long. And again, we're back in our Denny's, right? And having dinner, and I show the book to somebody, and keep in mind, this is how I thought a comic book should be made. Original artwork,
right?
Is you take a piece of 8.5 by 11, you draw a panel on that, and you ink it and put the text in it, and then you cut it out and rubber cement that panel onto a larger sheet of paper, so that you have this collage of page. I didn't realize that people would just draw all the panels on one page, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was a little behind the times. And I was still I would print out all of the dialogue on my printer, cut it out, and rubber cement it. So we had 2 layers of rubber cement. We had each panel, but...
He just likes us to know.
Yeah, this is what happened to my
extra
brain.
work for yourself.
Right. Yeah, and needless to say, the whole panel thing, I gave up on that real quick. I think, like after the first page, I just said, you know what, can we swear on your podcast?
Oh, yeah, you already did.
Oh, good, okay. So, whatever. And so I gave up on that, and then I had 9 pages. I had this little story called Bad Salsa, and then after that, people read it, and they go, okay, so what's going to happen next? And keep in mind, I'm giving these things out for free. I'm not selling them yet.
Right.
And so the second book was 12 pages. So we still hadn't cut the mustard, to what a real book should be. Mm-hmm. Now, keep in mind, when I was in high school and I was reading The Wharf Rats, those were like 30, 40 pages each. Mm-hmm. But he had only done one book. He didn't, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, I thought, shit, nine pages was probably really well, Mm-hmm. And the next issue was like 12 pages. And then I was like, okay, I realized that I'm a better cartoonist than I am a writer. But I don't have a writer, so I'm gonna keep writing my own book. better or for worse. And I wrote the book up to like issue number 5.
Mm-hmm.
And after, I think, okay, so 1 was 9 pages, 2 was 12, 3 was about 15 pages, maybe more. But the 4th one became, that was like maybe like 25 pages. It was a jump. There was a jump in page count between the 3rd and the 4th. And also, I was misled by my print company, and they said, well, if you're going to go with a glossy cardstock for a cover, you might as well go with like a single color glossy, and we'll just do it like business cards, where it's, you know, like a glossy finish, and it's, you know, like a baby blue, and I go, well, I mean, what's this all going to cost me? No, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Don't worry.
What's your print run? I said, I don't know. Usually I print up about maybe 200-300 books. Oh, no. You want to do about 400 or 500 books.
Oh.
I go, well, it's just an ash can. It's just a little thing, and I normally don't have a glossy cover anything. I just have like a, you know, like a cardstock, and I use the neon. Do you remember neon Astrobrite? Like the really bright yellows and
okay,
greens.
yeah.
That's what I was using for my covers up until that point. And then they go, oh, no, we can give you like a white, and it'll be a glossy white, and then it'll be, you know, the ink will be blue, and we'll actually print it, and we'll get this 400 or 500 print runs going. And I said, well, what's this all going to cost me? Oh, don't worry about that. You know, whatever printers say, you know, to measure up to, you know.
It'll all work out.
Yeah, it'll all work out. And then I paid them. And I decided I'm never going to print 400 or 500 of an ash can because I don't have 400 or 500 audience members. I had at best, I think I had 30, and I had 5 core people in my group that were reading my books.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like anything big, but I wrote the 5th issue, and somebody came out. This was like right around 1995.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And somebody saw the book, and he goes, you know, Alan, these are really, really good. These are really good. And there, you know, the only thing that people have to compare them to is like Bone. We have Bone. We have Jeff Smith.
Yeah.
And being compared to Jeff Smith, I was like humbled. I was like, damn. You know, I'm just doing a little book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't care. I was like, okay, whatever. And where was I?
Being compared to them.
Yeah, and there was and at this time I still had not met my hero, Sergio Aragonés. Keep in mind, I still haven't met anybody. The only person I reached out to was Matt Groening, and I sent him some comic books. And I sent him some comics, and he sent me some original artwork. And so I was in contact with Matt, but I wasn't. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I would meet him.
Right.
You know.
Same with me. Yeah.
Right. And so I had the 4th book, and we had way too many printed. And I said, well, you know, to the guys, like, these are really good. You know, he goes, you should think about publishing a full-size comic book, right? And this was around 1995. And I said, oh, well, great. The first issue is 9 pages long, and the second book is 12 pages long, and the third book is 15 pages. We'll just put the first 4 books together, and we'll have this thing. And he goes, oh, no. This space alien crap, this won't sell, Alan. I go, well, what will sell? I mean, I have my space aliens, and I'm going pretty good guns with them, and what do I need to do to, you know, what do you think? What do you think is going to shake the world? Right? And he goes, what do you think he said?
I'm not sure now.
He said, why don't you do a superhero book?
Oh, boy.
And I dug deep, and I went through all the old Don Martins, and I found a character called Captain Klutz.
Right.
Now, are you familiar with Captain Klutz?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did at least one paperback of that.
Yeah. Okay. I don't even know if that was in Mad Magazine. I don't know where that came from, but
it was never. It was never in the magazine. It was in paperbacks. But there's one paperback devoted to it, and then they had like one or two strips in every succeeding paperback. So, something like that.
And so I wanted my superhero comic book was kind of like a middle finger, like flipping the bird to the industry, and said, you know what, you guys can have your Wolverines in your homes, and you'll have your Batman, and I'm not going to encroach upon your. Where are we turning anyway?
After early on.
We're driving here, by the way, Kevin. And so, I did Flag Freedom, and Flag Freedom was. He's kind of like. Have you seen the movie Mystery Men? Is it this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so Flag Freedom is kind of like Greg Kinnear's character.
Okay.
But the thing is that in the movie, Greg Kinnear worked alone, and all Flag Freedom really wanted was to have a sidekick. He just wanted a sidekick, and the other guy who comes along and saves the day becomes his sidekick, and he says, I never wanted to work alone. I wanted a sidekick. So here we have, the main guy who's a klutz, right? And we have, where do we turn anyway? We're going to be turning here?
Not the next stop, then you make a left.
Left? We have to make a left.
You would think he never drove home before.
You're just going home?
I know. It's 7 o'clock, and we're still not home. And
he's talking, and he's like going straight. He's never made a right turn, and I'm like, he's just going to run out of room.
Oh, brother.
He's going to make a left.
All right.
We hit water. We've gone to.
This is what street is this?
This is Kalen. I'm not Kalen. Clara. Whatever it is. That's it. Starts with E. Now that everybody knows where you live.
Yay. Oh, yes. What's your address? What's your phone number? What's your social security? Okay. So go back to the story. So you developed a character that wanted a sidekick. And what was his name again?
Flag Freedom.
Flash Freedom. Thank you.
Flag
Freedom. Okay.
Flag Freedom.
Flag Freedom.
And thank God for what was my printer called? Black Swan or Black Crab Publishing. Take my money, please.
Now, did you use the same printer this whole time, or is this the same printer that made you make all those fancy changes to your older books, or is this a new printer?
No, this is full size. This is my first foray into printing full size.
Right, but did you use the same print shop, or did you?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
We went to somebody, like, we asked him, we said, well, what books do you print? And he goes, we've printed Cerebus.
Oh.
And I said, what's that?
Oh.
And he goes, let me give you some samples. And it was around the same time where me and another guy, Larry, he was publishing his first book. And I said, well, why are you publishing it under your publishing company and I'm publishing it under my publishing company? We should publish under the same company, and that way we have two books. And he liked the idea, but he was still paying for it. But he went to the high end, and I went to the low end, right? And I had about 1,600 copies of Flag Freedom printed. And keep in mind, I'm still doing, at the time, I was still doing Frankie Talley, which it was basically my bread and butter. I love that book, and Flag Freedom, my heart and soul wasn't in it.
Yeah.
It really wasn't in it. But it was written really well by a guy named Andrew Ford, and he lived out in New Jersey, which is why Flag is from New Jersey. You know, and I did it in such a way that it would lead. The second book was going to be issue 2000. And the third book was like, 30,000.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, I was going to... Oh, yeah, we can't turn here. Sorry. But that was always the numbering. That way, if I fell behind on the deadline, I'm publishing issue 2000, so I've got plenty of time for people to... You understand my mindset, right?
Impeccable logic here.
Right. But there was never any issue. There was never any issue number 2. So we just called it a one-shot. Mm-hmm. Well, Capital City published it. They distributed it. And Friendly Franks distributed it. Mm-hmm. And Comics Hawaii distributed it. Mm-hmm. And Diamond distributed it. And that month that it came out, all of the comic book distributors folded.
Yep.
Except for Diamond.
Yep.
That was my month that my book came out.
Wow.
And so we never really got paid from anybody except for Diamond. We got a check for $65. Now keep in mind, I have 1,600 books in my garage, and it was $1,200 I was $1,200 in debt.
Wow.
But I did it. I published my first foray into comic books, and I said I'd never do it again because it just sucked. And then in 2003, I said, okay, I'll take some of the Frank and Jollies, because the people were saying, damn, this shit's pretty good. Why is there no Frank and Jolly book? And I said, well, because when I did my other book, they said it wouldn't sell. So I went and I had, this is the way the printer, do you remember, oh shit, I forget his name, Leibowitz?
Yeah.
Something Leibowitz.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had him print the book. He's not printing anymore.
Okay.
And I was going to print up like 300, right?
Yeah.
And this was full size, the glossy full color cover. And I think you've seen Flag Freedom or Frank and Jolly, right?
Well, I know. Yeah, you showed it to me a while back. I don't. Yeah.
Right. And I was going to get. I had dreams and aspirations. I was going to do like, I think I was going to do like a print run of like 300 because I had learned my lesson. And he sat me down one day over the phone and he said, Alan, he goes, Alan, print only what you think you can sell in a year. And I said, well, fuck it, let's just do 100. He screwed himself. I don't know why he said that, but so yeah, we did. We had a micro-sized print run. And you know what's funny is I still have an unopened box of those.
Oh wow! Even with
I'm not even through the first box, and I only have like 150.
Even with 100, wow.
Right.
Wow.
No, I think it was more than that. I think it was like 100.
Printed 100, he has 150 left. Not bad.
Yeah, no, I think I did a print run. I think I did a print run of like 250.
Math is hard.
Yeah, I think I did a print run of 250. There was 125 in each box. Now I still have a sealed box from 2003.
Wow.
But with Flag Freedom, I still have all of the 1,600.
Oh, jeez.
in my garage, and I'm not selling anymore. I mean, I could, but why bother, right?
Yeah.
And people were like, well, I don't understand, Alan. Comic books wasn't your forte. I said, no shit, because I took your advice and I did a superhero book. I should have poured all my love into a sci-fi book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what I love. That's what I grew up reading, right?
Right.
And then the other plan that never came to fruition was, okay, do you remember DC Comics had Ghosts? Do you remember Ghosts?
Yeah. Well, they had...
And House of Mystery?
Right. They had a lot of titles like that. House of Secrets and Witch's Tales or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Or Witching Hour. Witching Hour, that's what it was, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
to do next. I wanted to do a horror book, and I never did it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still time.
Yeah.
I just have to get off my ass and find a writer.
You need a writer, eh? I don't know who writes around here. Anyway.
I got two. I'm talking to a writer, and I married a writer. Maybe we can have... Well, so, Mark, what do you think the print run should be on that book? Like 100? It keeps getting smaller and smaller. I went from 1,200 print run to like 250.
Just put it on Amazon and have it print on demand.
How do you do that anyway? Do you know how to do that?
What, the Amazon print on demand? Yeah.
Okay, then we'll have to talk off air.
Yes.
Yeah, because I don't know how to do that. But yeah, so I have two books, and I also help my friend publish, and then my other friends back east were doing Gloriana, and that's pretty much a Red Sonja ripoff. And I said, you can use my publishing company. It's just not being used. And they said, great. This is the writer of Gloriana. He comes to me and he goes, we'll pay for everything. And I go, great, because I didn't have any money, And then he turns around with a zinger and he goes, how many books do you want? I didn't realize that as a publisher I actually got perks. So I have his book in my garage.
1,600.
I think I have about 4 books.
1,600. Now I've heard, and maybe I'm incorrect on this. So all these are like standard comic book size, 32 pages or whatever. Are they black and white or color or what?
Yeah, they're black and white.
Okay.
We didn't know how to cross the color barrier.
Okay, and they're all standard size comics, right? Not giants or anything like that, right? Page count.
I never got the one size I never printed was where you take like 11 by 17 and fold it in half.
Oh yeah.
The magazine size.
And that's what I did all the time because I did my fanzine forever, and that's the way I did it.
Our fanzine, I should have said. Somewhere in the 90s, I actually joined the Small Press Syndicate, the SPS, and I was contributing to the rap sheet the whole time.
Oh, okay.
And I was, and that's where I found my writers. I found Troy Hickman, who eventually went on to write for, not Marvel, bite my tongue, Troy wrote for Dark Horse and Image.
Oh, okay.
Creator-owned books.
Mm-hmm.
And Denny Stevens, who I found on Facebook again after 35 years missing. The guy has been like AWOL. I found him on Facebook again, and I told him I got his address and I never mailed him a book. Maybe I should do that.
You can mail 1,600 book? Oh, not that one.
No. That was the 250. That was the 200. He's seen Flag Freedom. He's seen Flag Freedom, and basically. Denny is the best guy in the world because when I was experimenting with writers, I was going with Denny one book and Troy the next book.
Yeah.
And Troy and Denny and Troy. We would, and then if neither one of them could do it, I would step in and hack out some shit. But we got Frank and Jolly up to issue 13.
Oh wow.
With an annual, so that's 14.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a couple, part 1 and part 2, which became the book. The book is actually, I'm thinking, the full-size Frank and Jolly is actually issues 10 and 11.
Okay, so you actually also published a book, right? Is that what I'm hearing, or because I thought you had?
The book is it's a comic book.
Oh, okay. But I had heard before, and maybe I'm totally wrong on this, that you did an actual book that was like a compilation of the old issues. Am I wrong in that? I think you'd remember if you published a book. So
no,
that must be a rumor. Okay. All right.
Just version?
Well, I did put. Okay. I did put the first 3 issues of Frank and Jolly together in one book.
Okay.
Because they were very short.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
But it was still a digest.
Right. Okay.
It was like the third printing of it.
Right. But it was thicker than a standard comic book, so I guess that's why I thought it was a book, quote unquote. So, yeah. But
it was still stapled. It wasn't like it didn't have a glued.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like a big, thick phone book type book like stuff I write.
No, I wanted to, but you know what? Publishing paper.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever get around to publishing. I have a lot of stuff, and I want it to see the light of day again, but I don't want to pay. You know, that's the thing. I don't want to pay.
Yeah.
And,
well, I have to admit, self-publishing now, I think, in a certain respect, is even harder than it used to be. I mean,
I agree with you.
It's easier because you don't have to have 1,600 copies sitting in your garage, but it's harder because, it's print on demand, but then who buys the one copy? They don't even want it. You know, it's like so it never sells, and so you're kind of stuck. You do all this work, and then there's no buyers.
Well, I would think that with print on demand, that would be only one of your many outlets. You would print maybe 50, 60 copies for yourself,
right?
And then sell those, and then advertise your print on demand in the book,
right?
Right. But yeah, I don't know about publishing these days. I mean, I'm talking about stuff that we did back in the early 2000s.
Right. And like you know, when I started my fanzine in the early 90s, I got distributed by all those different distributors, and then it dwindled down to Diamond, you know, and it's like, you know, I don't know how they got away with that, but that's what we got now, and barely. So, you know,
I did misquote myself. It wasn't the mid 2000s. It was the early 90s.
It was definitely the 90s because here's what happened to me. I'll keep the story short, but it's like I was with Friendly Franks and with what's the other one? The one you just said.
Were you ever with Capital City?
Yeah, Capital City. That's the other one I'm thinking of. So I was with all those. The one that dropped me was Diamond. And the one that dropped me before everything was the reason why Diamond dropped me is because I only sold like 2,000 copies.
Only.
Yeah.
You only.
Yeah, and you got to remember this is around the time of the Superman death issue, so that's what I'm up against. And I even wrote him a letter at the time. I said, "I'm sorry I didn't sell as many copies of the Death of Superman, but I think 2,000 copies is pretty good for a fanzine." Yeah. But they never took me back. And then years later, this is a funny story too. Years later, I met Steve Jeppe himself in San Diego, and he says, "Oh, are you still publishing Harveyville Fun Times?" And I go, "Why, yes, I am." He goes, "Whatever happened to that?" And I go, "Well, you dropped me." And he says, "Oh, we'll have to work on that, fix that." Well, he never did, and so it never got distributed by Diamond ever again. But anyway,
if I say anything about Diamond, it won't be anything nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I passed them at Comic-Con going, "You're a monopoly," and they go, "No, we're not."
Yeah.
And they go, "Yeah, dude, you're a fucking monopoly."
Yeah.
You know.
They are.
They are. Yeah.
And it'd be nice if another distributor could pop up, but I don't think anybody would because there's no real money to be made by anybody in comic books anymore.
Well, this is, the rumor that I was putting out is that they own their own competition, and it was only a magazine-based thing or whatever it was, but they owned it, so they could control what was in it and what was out of it.
Right.
You know, so that's how they get away with saying they're not a monopoly.
Right.
But I don't know if that's true or not. You know, now, Bud Plant, what do they publish?
Well, they don't really. I mean, catalog, I guess, but they're really just a distributor themselves. But yeah, they don't really publish anything. No.
Oh. Okay.
And he's had to succumb to the whims of the almighty Diamond too, because nobody distributes the standard 36-page or 32-page pamphlet comics except for Diamond. You know, unless you're talking about General Newsstand, which is like virtually non-existent. You know, so.
Yeah, so one day I'd have to actually talk to you about publishing in 2019.
Yeah.
And how we go about doing it, because In the mid-2000s, I actually went back to college.
Mm-hmm.
2006-07, I went for a 14-month in-and-out school. I was institutionalized for a while. And when I got out, people were like, wow, Alan, this stuff's really great. Are you going to do a comic book? And I said, no.
Yeah.
Because then I had learned my lesson. 10 months. I was basically showing them the stuff that I published in the 90s, and they were. I go, do you want to buy this for $5? And he goes, no.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Everybody wants you to publish, but once you tell them to, can you give me some money for this? No. Yeah.
Right.
They just want a freebie or something, or they don't realize. Like, I think it's funny. Like, you saw the recent articles about Mad ceasing publication or cutting back or going to reprints or whatever, and people that haven't read Mad in years, they go, Mad's $5.99 a copy, and it's like, yeah, it has been for about 6 years. Well, I remember it was 35 cents. It's like, yeah, so is toilet paper, whatever. It's like everything's gone up.
Well, I was arguing. I was one of those guys, and I was arguing with Tom Richmond about the price. I said, you know what? It's not just Mad.
Yeah. They're all expensive. Yes.
Yes, Monsters of Filmland. It's Monsters on the Moulin Rouge. Whatever genre books they have, they're all $5.99.
Well, they're all more than Mad. Actually, they're closer to $10 nowadays. It's like,
are they?
Yeah, $10 a magazine. So it's like it's crazy, and
But I mean, Mad could keep the price down if they went back to newsprint.
Yeah, they
don't
could.
Have to be on glossy, and you know what? They don't have to publish in color.
No, but they think
They're
they do.
doing that, and it raised the price. If they came down to newsprint, they could fucking get the price down.
Yeah.
The reason all these magazines, and it's not just Mad, it's all these magazines are going out of business is because their price is $5.99.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a vicious circle because the distribution goes down, less people are buying it, so they raise the price to compensate it, and then fewer people buy it, and then they raise the price to compensate. And it's a downward spiral. I mean, Mad when it was a quarter sold millions of copies. Mad when it's $5.99 sells about 100,000 copies. So there you go.
Okay, what's going on with issue 9 is out in the newsstands.
Yeah.
Now, it came out a couple of days ago. I bought a copy of it, and I have issue 8. How am I going to get issue 10? Is that going to come to comic book
I've heard 10 is 10 is the last newsstand one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought 9 was.
Yeah. Well, I've heard both, so I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But I've heard both 9 and 10 as being the last newsstand one, and then after that, it's supposed to be comic stores only, which is like non-existent up here in Oregon where I am, or subscription. So I finally subscribed. I've subscribed before, but I like getting. I've always liked buying Mad on the newsstand. I don't mind paying $5.99 because I know I can get a mint copy. I can look at it, and it's not thrashed in my mailbox, It's like, and but if this is the only way I can get it, because see, the comic stores up here, they don't carry Mad because nobody buys it, and so because I went to like 3 or 4 comic stores recently around Oregon just to check them out. None of them had the current issue of Mad or any issue of Mad. They had ones from the 60s or something, but not the current issues. So I had to subscribe, so, but that's the story I've heard. But I've heard different things, like, they may rethink this strategy only from the standpoint is like, the fact that news got out that they were canceling Mad was probably the best publicity they've had in about 30 years. So,
Which one is this?
Just the news story of canceling Mad. Was probably the best publicity for Mad that they've had in about 30 years. It's like, they should have said they were going to cancel a long time ago. But, I mean, that's the biggest problem with these magazines and comics. It's like they don't even promote them very well,
Right.
I mean, you'd think that, like...
But at least Mad... No, Mark. At least Mad has a Facebook page now.
True.
And you could go, and it says, the new book is coming out August 6th. And
True.
I knew when it was coming out.
True.
As opposed to all through the 80s and the 90s, you didn't know when the book was coming out.
Yeah. Well, I I mean, that's true, but it sold more then, which is kind of ironic. But the other thing is, you know, it's like Mad had that Mad TV on for about 15 years. It was like Saturday Night Live. Never once on the show did they say, hey, go to your newsstand and buy a copy of Mad.
I know. I know.
And, you know, Avengers, using that as an example, it works for comic books, too. Avengers, big hit movie. Shazam, big hit movie. Captain Marvel, big hit movie. Spider-Man, big hit movie. Do they once say before, during, or after the movie, hey, by the way, there's a comic book you could buy of this stuff? You know?
Well,
and they could sell them at the movie theaters. What a novel idea! Do they do that? No.
With X-Men, okay, explain this to me, because this is like Marvel shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
X-Men is owned by 20th Century Fox, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they license it. Yeah. Yeah.
So they license it.
Yeah.
But Marvel is pissed at the movies. They don't want the movies making any profit, so they said, we're not going to promote the comic book for X-Men, and I'm sure as hell not going to give you any more characters.
No.
So no more creating characters. Isn't that like Marvel being a little counterintuitive?
Yeah, they're shooting themselves in the foot, but they don't, it's really weird. I mean, it'd probably take longer than this podcast to explain everything, that goes on, but things that I know about all these movies and everything now, which makes it almost amazing that they did an Avengers movie and even a Justice League movie, is that in the old days, if they licensed something, they just licensed all the characters, lock, stock, and barrel, so you could do whatever you wanted with it. That's why they had things like Super Friends and whatever, Right. And then nowadays, they license each character individually, and they may not license them all to the same studio, which is a big pain in the butt for Disney until they bought out Fox recently. So all the X-Men characters were lurking about over at Fox, and Disney had everything else. And it's like, we can't put any X-Men characters in these films because they're all over at Fox, And, it's just weirdness like that, that didn't used to happen. It used to just be, you want Marvel characters? Here, you got the license for Marvel characters. Done. Do whatever you want with them. It's like, so.
But I would like to add, somewhere in the mid-2000s, an idea dawned on me, and I think it was when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, would you publish again if you could do a full color with sound, right? And have it move? Would you publish again?
Well,
and I looked at that and I said, you know what? That is tempting. I could probably roll 9 months. I'm spending 9 months on a book creation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm spending 9 months on an animation, but animation has full color, sound, and it moves.
Yeah.
Right? And I said, if I'm going to spend 9 months, it sure as hell ain't going to be on a black and white book that won't sell. I'm going to make animations.
Yeah.
I tried my hand at 3D, True Space, Caligari True Space, and Maya and all that crap. But, I was always 10 rungs down below the lowest guy, and I never really could keep up, and I wanted to go back into Hanna-Barbera anyway. I wanted to, make that kind of stuff. And I did. With Flash, you're able to just do it on the PC,
mm-hmm.
And you can make, you can make your little Hanna-Barbera cartoons now.
Right.
And that's what I got into. So when I submit don't tell anybody, but when I submit as a professional
to
San Diego Comic-Con, I no longer tell them, well, no, I publish cartoons. I realize they're not going to hear this, are they?
They might. No.
But, then I guess I'll have to get my ass in gear and publish another cartoon.
Well, I had to send in my credentials today, ironically. Is that what you're talking about, just to keep up the professional path? Yeah. And it's funny because I used to get a lot of stuff published by Tomorrow's, and now it's dwindled down to one every so often, and it's like, oh crap, it's like I'm not publishing as frequently as I used to. I still have stuff coming out, But like you, and we can talk about this, in a few moments, is like, I'm kind of venturing away from print stuff and more into, like, that's why I'm doing the podcast, because it's like, as much as I love print, it's like, it's not the thing, it's like, you have to do something with audio and video.
It's not financially viable.
Yeah.
It's not financially viable.
Right. And, like these podcasts, even if they don't make a dime, it takes a lot less energy and effort to do these, even though it sounds like I'm doing a lot more because I'm talking to you and you can hear it and you can laugh along or sing along, or if I have songs on one of them or whatever.
And, folks,
yeah.
you can color the pages.
Yeah.
Boy,
And,
no, they can't.
with your animation, it's like, ooh, everything moves. It didn't move in that boring old comic book, but, it probably took you a tenth of a time to make it. Now,
no, it never did. It's about the same.
Oh, it does take about the same. Okay.
It does take the same. You know that. Come on.
Well, yeah. I thought Flash animation, you can educate me now. So Flash animation, I thought took less time than, say, full animation, but maybe that's not what you're comparing it to. You're comparing it to, like, drawing comic books.
That's what I am comparing it to. Full animation. Is I went in. People always say, "Oh yeah, you use Flash to do the shortcuts." For me, I wanted to learn. I wanted to actually get that walk cycle by doing 24 frames a second.
Right. Okay.
And I wanted to draw 24 frames a second. I wanted to look as smooth as I possibly could make it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want Flash to cut corners. And admittedly, I've never really been good at getting Flash to save me any sort of time.
Right.
And so the only way to save time is to just animate it. Just go in there, and they've got a million layers of onion skinning. You go in there, and you turn them all off except for like 5, right? And so you draw like 5, and you really get, if you set the dial from like 12, I was doing everything on 12s, and people said, I went into a Facebook group on animation, and the moderator, he goes, "Alan, if you want to play with the big boys, you should start on 24 frames a second." And I told him, I said, Disney only uses 24 frames a second for their movies.
Yeah.
Everything on TV is 12 frames per second shot twice.
Right.
And he said, "Yeah, but those are TV animators." I said, "Yeah, and I'm just one guy." Mm-hmm. And we got into a little argument on what was, and basically he's an instructor of animation, right? My friend Ray, do you know Ray Pointer?
Yes. He wrote a book about Fleischer.
Yeah.
Max Fleischer.
And I didn't realize what he was doing, but what he was trying to tell me is, Matt, play with the big boys, but all of your animation is 12 frames a second. Do one at 24. Do all the work behind it. Just do 1 second or do 2 seconds of 24 frames a second.
Mm.
And see what it looks like, and get your basically he was saying, get your shit together, and tell me how you like that. And I tried it. This is, and I really like 24. It takes twice as long
right.
to do a cartoon, but it looks great.
Mm-hmm.
It really does, and it goes by so damn fast. It's not like doing it in 12s where you can be like, "Oh, hey, I'm done." 24 is like, I've done a second worth of animation. Let me grab something to drink.
So what animations have you done? I know you had some little short Flash things you've shown me.
That's what I'm talking about. They're all on LinkedIn. If you go to LinkedIn,
okay.
I've linked them all. Isn't it ironic? I've linked them to LinkedIn. They're on YouTube. I put them all on YouTube. I actually figured out how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get my PC back, we're going to put some programs on a Mac. So I don't know if my Macromedia Flash can be put on the Mac, but We'll find something.
Yeah, they'll probably laugh at you.
Well, everybody who's using, like, Adobe, maybe you can shed some light on this. Everybody who's using Adobe Flash tells me, they go, oh, my God, you still have Macromedia Flash? Does it work? And they said, yeah, it works great. They go, don't upgrade. Everybody, straight across the board. I haven't heard one person talking nice about Adobe. Adobe Flash, everybody's like, no, stay with Macromedia. Don't upgrade. And
well,
like, okay.
I think it has something to do, and I could be wrong on this. I mean, Adobe Flash and working with a Mac or any sort of Apple product doesn't mix. So that might have something to do with it. That's the only thing. I don't know what type of computer you have.
Both.
Okay, so I think that's because the weirdness about Apple products is that they don't get along with Flash or Adobe, and they don't get along with Google, and they don't get along with Java, and they don't get it's all these different things that they don't get along with. Yet they're supposed to be very flexible.
No, Apple is very rigid.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to be polite because I'm
getting better.
Is it?
Yeah, it's getting better.
Yeah. I'm trying to be polite because I'm not a huge Apple fan, but I know there are Apple fans out there. But
if you're going to do the kind of stuff that we're talking about, you need both.
Yeah.
You need a PC, and you need a Mac, and you need the programs, and maybe it isn't Adobe on Mac, maybe it's something else.
Yeah.
But I don't even know anything about Mac to get the programs that I need. How do you get a 2D animation program on Mac? What are people using for 2D animation?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And I don't think they're publishing Director anymore.
Yeah.
And Flash has gone the way of the dodo. Nobody fucking uses it anymore.
Are you calling me a dodo?
Flash dodo. But again, so what are the new? What are some new software packages?
Oh, geez, I don't know because see, I'm not into the animation stuff so much. I mean, I'm barely into the audio stuff, so I'm into the audio stuff, so I can talk about that to a certain extent, but. That's my next step is to go into video or something like that. But if I was to ever go into video, I need some help. I can't do it as a one-man operation. Basically, I mean, it's like
right.
like any videos I shoot, it's like I shot a couple where I was by myself. Just a video, and of course, when you do that, you have to go up to the camera and turn it on, sit down, and hope you're in frame, and you can't zoom in or cut or anything.
Yeah, you need to. Well, there are ways around that. Mark.
Yeah, well, editing, but it's like, but now I have a new girlfriend, so it's like it makes things easier. She can start the camera and zoom in or cut or whatever. Anyway. So it's like Jen, very handy. Anyway, see.
But this is the other thing is, what was I saying? With video, I could do, and I did, like a 13-minute tutorial on how I ink my cartoons, followed by a 17-minute tutorial on how I use water to go over the inks and get halftone. So there's a 13-minute on Groening Studios on Facebook. So there's a 13-minute and a 17-minute. And to upload them to Facebook was no time at all. It took me like 5 minutes. Right?
Yeah.
But to upload these same movies to YouTube, we were trying to watch TV and upload them at the same time. And it says to preview. And the preview took about maybe 30 minutes to upload. And then when it gets down to the end of the preview, it says, okay, now we're going to start uploading your video. This is like after a half hour. When we're trying to watch TV and everything slows down on the Amazon Fire Stick, we're getting like buffering issues.
Right.
And it took me, I think, 4 hours. How long did it take me to upload 17 minutes?
I fell asleep.
Yeah. It was like 17 minutes, and it took me like 4 hours to upload 17 minutes to YouTube.
Wow.
But on Facebook, it was like, bing, and it was there.
Yeah. Well, they have different formats. I don't know the difference, but yeah, even downloading something from
Mark?
yes.
Slow and fast.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but even downloading something, you can download something from YouTube.
I used to remember how to download.
Yeah, I think. Well, I have the ability to. I think. Yeah, it is faster on Facebook too to download. And I don't know. YouTube uses MP4 usually, but they probably have other formats too. But even for these podcasts, I put them on YouTube. I have to convert it to that because they don't really like audio on YouTube, but I get it up there anyway because I figured out how to do it. But
so you're on YouTube. I gotta find you.
But it's for more exposure. Now, granted, you're still going to listen to us, and there'll just be a light bulb logo the whole time. But I mean,
it doesn't have to be.
This is for people who don't have access to iTunes or access to Podomatic or anything else. They can watch it on YouTube.
Are you on iTunes?
Yes.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes. So.
Because we've actually listened. I don't know if you know this, but I actually do a podcast Sunday mornings called The Unknown Comic Fan. Luke has been really good about putting it on iTunes, and he's been putting it on Podomatic.
Yeah.
But he hasn't really been all that great about promoting it on Facebook. So I don't know how many views we get on iTunes, but we were able to pull it up on our Fire Stick.
Uh-huh.
We were able to go in and listen to it, and we've got the Alexa app, that little hockey puck, and I just tell her, I said, find me a podcast, find me The Unknown Comic Fan, and it'll pull it up.
Yeah.
It'll find it. Takes a little bit of work, but it does. It finds it.
Now, I don't have Alexa. Maybe you can test it for me and say, look up Fun Ideas Podcasts, see what it does. But
I'll look you up on iTunes.
But definitely it is on iTunes, yes. And I had to look at it recently because I changed my logo. Mort Todd was a guest recently, and he redesigned the logo for me based on a design my friend. Well, you know who he is, Lee Hester of Lee's Comics. He was telling me one day. He says, "Your light bulb logo is getting kind of tired. Why don't you redesign it?" And I said, "Well, come up with some ideas. I'll consider it." And he did. And then I got Mort Todd to complete it. And so now I have a new fancy schmancy looking light bulb that looks like something out of R. Crumb comic or something. I don't know. I like it. It's very good. So anyway, anyway, when I loaded it up to iTunes, for some reason, the change of the logo wasn't automatic, and so I had to contact them, and they said, "Oops, sorry," and they fixed it. But so that was my recent contact with iTunes, so that's why I know they're still being uploaded up there. So.
Okay. So your books have like a logo. Well, I guess so do we. We have it's like a silhouette of like a Superman type deal.
Okay.
So.
Well, like I said other times, I said in the future everyone will have a podcast. It's like it will be your calling card. You have to have a podcast, or you won't be able to work this job. Whatever.
Mark.
Yes.
Everybody does have their own podcast.
They do. It's already happened.
Have ours. Jen is like, I don't have one. Like, we made her the unofficial. We added her after I got married. We added her to Unknown Comic Fan. So
I basically just snore through it, but just kidding.
No, what's funny is with me and Luke, we're talking, and I'll be on the laptop, and I'll start playing a trailer with all the dramatic music during the show, and you'll go, Alan, what the hell was that? So, I know, but Unknown Comic Fan's really Luke's thing. I'm the co-host, but it's really his thing. He edits the show and he puts it up, and if he doesn't promote it, I don't really care. I just, whatever.
Yeah, I
sit there and I agree with him, so.
I try to promote this as best I can. I mean, for me, it's on Facebook mainly. I put it on my blog. I put it on just Twitter, Tumblr, all sorts of different websites and stuff like that. So
I didn't get into Twitter. I never really really did, because I don't want to be a twat or a twit.
Twatter. But basically on Twitter, I don't go out there and say, hey, all the political mumbo jumbo everybody does. I just calmly, politely promote the podcast, and that's it. So, I mean, if somebody catches it on there, great. If they don't, well, to me, it's just another place and you could send it. So that's why I do it. So.
Well, I would be promoting mine, but we didn't do an episode on Sunday. So
oh, okay.
we don't really have. I mean, we have a whole bunch of material that your audience probably had never heard of.
Yeah.
Over on Podomatic and iTunes and stuff. The show is called Unknown Comic Fan, and we've been running straight through with no breaks since 2007. And we do. We used to have a YouTube channel, and I want to get back into that.
Yeah.
But Luke forgot the password.
Oh.
So, because he does have one, but we don't ever use it. So.
Seems like there's a way to. Seems like there'd be a way to retrieve that, even by contacting YouTube. But I don't know.
Well, the thing is, does he really want to? That's the thing.
Okay.
I don't think he wants to.
Or you could start your own YouTube page and put them on your page, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I've been really bad about going to Podomatic and getting them. And so, what we need to do is just advertise the hell out of it. I think isn't it free to upload on Podomatic?
No. Well, it is, but the thing is, like, when you get as many episodes as I have, because now we're in the 40s here, I think yours is episode 40 or 41, I forgot. Well, you'll know by hearing the ID at the beginning of the episode when it finishes, but it only holds so many, and then you run out of storage space, so you have to upgrade. So.
Oh, yeah, or delete one. I think what Luke is doing is he doesn't delete them. He has them all on his computer.
Yeah. I haven't deleted any yet, but I mean, if it gets to the point where it's like it's going to get hideously expensive, I may have to start doing that. I'm trying not to, but that's another reason why I'm putting it on YouTube, because YouTube doesn't seem to have any restrictions that way. So if I do have to delete them on Podomatic, they're still up on YouTube. So
you're giving them ideas.
Oh, for YouTube? Yeah, don't listen to this, YouTube. Turn away, look away.
Nothing to see here.
Well, I want to get into doing, like, either live shows or, as opposed to just audio, where you can, draw and, but it seems to be working better on Facebook than it ever did on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, the time to upload is minimal.
Right.
As opposed to YouTube, which you could, you could grow a small beard waiting for your shit to upload on YouTube. So.
It just does not look good on me.
I don't know. I guess for me, since it's just audio only, it's not too long. But then I'm not trying to watch anything while I'm uploading. I upload on my computer, and then if I watch something, I'm in the other room. So it's not too bad. So
we didn't know that it would affect the buffering rates, the bandwidth on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. But it might be more because yours is a video. I don't know, because like I said, I have a still picture with audio, so maybe there's a difference. I'll have to experiment, but I don't know. So
okay.
So anything else to plug, or anything else you want to talk about? We've gone over an hour. Hey,
that's what we do. We just we kill the show around at the 1 hour mark.
Okay.
No, I think that's pretty good. If you want to do a follow-up.
Okay.
Whenever I get I'm working, okay.
Yeah, tell us what you're working on now. So.
I'm working on, I can't really talk. I showed you some pictures of it yesterday on video. By the way, I want to do video chat with you again. That was a riot. I am working on the Epic project. I got into acrylic painting.
Okay.
As his sidekick and manager, I'll let you know that he has had my church and his church both he's been involved with. My church commissioned him to do our logos for our festival, so he's been busy
I've been drawing for the church.
Characters of our pastor. And in his church, he does acrylic paintings. And now he's doing one for himself. He was challenged to do an epic...
Yeah, Floyd Mansummer. You should put Floyd Mansummer. You're both in Oregon.
Well, if you put me in contact with him, I'll interview him. So.
I will. Yeah,
all right.
I'm sure he would be more than happy to be interviewed.
Sure.
But yeah, I do. I'm drawing. What was our strip called? It was like the random.
Random chaoticness.
Chaotic randomness.
Yeah, chaotic randomness.
Chaotic randomness, but the strip doesn't have a logo yet. It's got like 1,500 daily panels. Like the Family Circus had one panel deal. It's a one panel deal. But I haven't made it official yet. So we have all this material, but we haven't. I've been publishing them on Facebook. So you've probably seen some of those. Today was piranhas. I got to draw piranhas.
Pleasant piranhas.
Pleasant piranhas. They're not vegan, but they're whatever. The whole strip is just so random that it's great. It's awesome. It's like, okay, whatever. And tomorrow it may be space aliens or astronauts or something. It's a little bit of everything.
All right.
So.
And any more websites to plug or anything you didn't mention?
Animation Mountain. That's my site. You can go to Animation Mountain. Although don't go on your phone or your tablet because it's all Flash-based and it won't work.
Oops.
We're going to change that.
Good.
Yeah, she wants to get rid of the Flash, and my heart is still at the Flash stage. And then of course Groening Studios on Facebook.
And how do you spell that for the illiterate?
GroeningStudios.
Right. All right.
Groening Studios.
And how are you related to Matt, or are you not?
The story that I'm going with is that I'm his cousin.
Okay.
And I fell through a rift in time and space, and I wound up here. And in my universe, I have the Thompsons. It's been running strong for 32 seasons, 36 seasons.
The Thompsons? Okay.
The Thompsons, yes. On the Fox Network. We're on the Fox Network. And I'm trying to get back. I'm trying to get, But no, these days I just say, I'm his mom. I thought that bastard everything he knows.
Yeah.
But I'm Northern California. He knows. He's Southern California. I'm Northern California.
Yeah.
I'm the lesser known Groening, and he's the really, really big Groening.
Yeah.
But of course, when I get a show,
and I'm a new Groening.
and I live in Springfield, in the real Springfield. So.
Oh my God.
That's true.
Lord, how far away are you from the mural and the statue?
About a mile.
Really? Okay, we got to come up and visit Mark, because I've always wanted to see that shit.
I posted the mural on my Facebook page before. Yeah.
I will have to come up there and graffiti all the
graffiti over it. Yeah, that'll win you brownie points up here.
Yeah, I'll draw Homer Simpson for him. We'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna draw you Homer Simpson.
All right.
Anyway, amigo. I haven't even set foot in my house yet.
All right.
And it is 7:45, and I want to go. In.
All right, I will let you go at this point. It's been fun. We can have another chat in the future, maybe a video chat. You never know. So
let me know when this is up on YouTube, and I'll put it up on our page.
All right, I will do so. All right. Well, thank you very much for being my guest, and cool. I will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, and thank you again, Alan and Jen Groening, for being my special guests. Episode number 40 will be coming soon. If you would like to comment and or be a guest on this podcast, please drop me a line at funideas.mark@gmail.com. You can become a Patreon of Fun Ideas Productions, and if everyone listening just contributed $1 a month, it would be a tremendous help. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Our opening and closing themes are provided by Andrew the Slow Poisoner Goldfarb. If you'd like to know more information about his music, please drop me a line. This has been the Fun Ideas Podcast. This is Mark Arnold speaking. This episode is copyright 2019 Fun Ideas Productions, and thank you very much, and have a good night.
Lace to rhinestone kisses on those blind eyelids and drive with your velour chauffeur across the river Styx. Popping creation pills in the pink electric church. The final flicker of your illusion.